So it was around about last week, it was announced that the WBO would be mandating Alexander Usyk to face Joseph Parker. They were not going to, make any more reservations. There's obviously when you have an undisputed champion or a guy who has three to four belts, there's going to be mandatories. The rematches really don't help in boxing, and that's one of the reasons why mandatories crop up so quickly. If you think about it, I know with someone like Canelo Alvarez, he is a big name. He's probably boxing's biggest name if you think about it worldwide, and he has a lot of sway with the sanctioning bodies. But having said that, he's winning these fights and there's no rematches. He's beaten Billy Joe Saunders, no rematch for Saunders. He's beaten Caleb Plant, no rematch for Caleb Plant, etc., etc., etc. So he's able to do those fights, and then he's able to go and do what he wants. When you look at someone like Alexander Usyk, he wins the unified title off Anthony Joshua as a mandatory, mind you, and he has to go straight back into a rematch. That then means that the WBA are ordering their mandatory, which is Daniel Dubois. He has to go and face him. Obviously, Tyson Fury didn't make it the easiest with negotiations and stuff like that at the start of 2023, but you get what I mean. He used to go into that. Then we get undisputed. He fights Tyson Fury. There's a rematch clause in place for that. He has to go and do that. So all these rematches, they hold things up, and then they ultimately lead to mandatories getting called. And in some cases, not in this one, to be honest with you, really not in this one, but in some cases they would lead to good fights, maybe having to be shelved ever so slightly, or at the very least, it can kick down the road. And the risk with that is, if it's a mandatory defence, chances are mandatory, not always, there have been some horrendous mandatories throughout the years, even with the IBF, amongst others, the WBC, they've all done it. They've all been guilty of having some horrific mandatories over the years. But for the most part, they're normally good. And then you look to yourself and you say, oh, well, that fight we're looking at in the future, I mean, he's to get by such a Fury Usyk, or Fury, Joshua was a good example, Fury had to get by Deontay Wilder in the trilogy fight. He did. Weeks prior, because I think they were only fought, I think it was only 2 weeks apart between Joshua fighting Usyk the first time and Fury fighting Wilder in the trilogy fight. One of them, they were both in dangerous fights. They both had to win, and then we probably would have got Joshua Fury in 22. But they still, they had to beat their respective guys, and Joshua didn't, and just the way it is. So, and obviously other fights, not mandatories, but Wilder, Parker, stuff like that. So it stalled and it stopped bigger fights being made. It absolutely did. Now, with this one, you look and you say, well, we've seen Dubois versus Usyk before. I wouldn't mind seeing Joseph Parker. But it looks likely we are going to get Dubois versus Usyk next. If it is going to be for undisputed, there'll probably be a caveat chucked in there that the winner will be undisputed, but the next day or something like that, they'll be stripped or they'll vacate or something like that, which would then elevate Joseph Parker to full champion, which he deserves a world title shot. One of the perks of being interim champion is that you don't have to go through this, you don't have to fight for a vacant title, you don't do any of that, you're elevated to full champion. Me and Ade spoke about it. In some ways, it does kind of, you almost see him as not him personally, but you almost see the fighter as a bit of an illegit champion until they've made a defense or had a particularly big fight. Like Dubois, a lot of people really didn't see him as a champion until he fought Anthony Joshua and beat him. Now a lot of people see him as a more legitimate heavyweight champion rather than, the email champion as Devin Haney was known as for several years. Where am I going with this? It therefore means that Joseph Parker will likely, rather than having to weigh it out, will likely have a fight in the interim. If he's world champion, it'll likely be a defence. Now, Gareth A. Davis, amongst others, there was a lot of people reporting on it, that Anthony Joshua would be one of the front runners, and I talked about that in a separate video. I said that I wasn't exactly keen on the idea, not necessarily of the fight. I think the fight would be still pretty interesting. I'd make Joseph Parker favourite at this minute in time of their respective careers. But I wasn't keen on the idea of Joshua getting an immediate crack. Certainly coming off the fact that he's lost his last fight. It was a demolition job by Daniel Dubois, really. And to go straight back in for a world title, for me, that just, it's not a good look. But a lot of people have been saying, and they've not necessarily been using the argument of, well, Joshua was beaten such and such, and look what he did prior to the Dubois fight. No. They're saying based upon what he's done in his respective career, two-time heavyweight champion, brought British boxing to a whole nother level, made millions and millions of pounds, filled out Wembley Stadium, filled out the Principality Stadium, the O2 was ram-packed. All that means that he should immediately get a world title shot. And I'm here to say that I completely disagree with that. Hatman coined the phrase, what is it, the legacy protection or something like that. Essentially, we're giving these fighters the likes of a Tyson Fury, the likes of Anthony Joshua, even Deontay Wilder, we're giving them opportunities that they otherwise shouldn't be getting, or potentially giving them opportunities they otherwise shouldn't be getting, whilst the blue collar fighter, so to speak, who's working their way up and is maybe highly ranked, is still having to wait their turn. He's still having to fight another eliminator. He's still having to take on another dangerous fight when someone who, yeah, they're coming near the end of their career. I respect that. I get that. They've done amazing things in their career, be it financial, be it in the ring. I get all that. But that still doesn't mean that they should jump the queue. Me and Ali spoke about this. Boxing is a what have you done for me lately type of a thing. And what has Anthony Joshua done for me lately? He's beaten an Ottavallian who went on to get dropped and outpointed by Derek Chisora in not his next fight, but basically his next fight, his next competitive fight anyway. And Derek Chisora is shot to bits at this stage. He then fights a Francis Ngannou who had more holes in his defense than Swiss cheese, who was having his second professional fight coming from an MMA background. He then has a world title shot. Some argue that he never even deserved that world title shot. And he fights Daniel Dubois and he gets completely annihilated. Barely wins in the course of those 5 rounds. Probably wins 1 full minute over the course of those 5 rounds. And off the back of that, he's able to get a title shot. I don't agree with it. Now, what I will say is the WBO, because again, it is a lot of people just kind of hearsay. The WBO are one of those sanctioning bodies that are very much in the you cannot fight for our world title if you're coming at the back of a loss. Now, they've done that before. Will they do it again? Crucially, that is the question, because we've seen the WBC don't give a damn, WBA don't give a damn, the IBF I'm sure they have done it. In fact, I think they actually have done it, but I can't quite remember who it was. But I am fairly sure that they have allowed a fighter coming in. It was Tim Tszyu. Tim Tszyu when he fought. I can't remember the guy's name now, but the guy who absolutely annihilated him in a couple of rounds. I know exactly his name, but I just can't think of it. And yeah, he came in off the back of a lost to Fondora. So I don't like it. I don't agree with this. I don't agree with fighters lose a world title fight, and it's a comprehensive loss. It's different if it's a robbery or something that's like a robbery akin to it. But you lose your shot. You lose by a stoppage, devastating stoppage. Okay, have another world title shot. I don't agree with it, personally. And I don't think Anthony Joshua deserves one. I think with Anthony Joshua, he is holding out for Tyson Fury. If he can't get Tyson Fury, I would have one last fight with Dylan White and call it a day. A little farewell fight at the O2, and that's it. Because I don't think he's going to do anything at world level anymore. I look at someone like Moses Atelma, and I think in a year he will, maybe even now, but in a year certainly, he will look at Anthony Joshua and just think, oh, you're going to be easy. And yeah, I think if it's not Tyson Fury, and to be honest with you, I think AJ at this point would take the Tyson Fury fight for no world title over a world title shot. I do. I think he would. I think it means that much to him. That fight itself means that much to him. I don't think he deserves the world title shot, quite frankly. I think Joseph Parker, if he does become champion, if he does become the full champion, well then he should fight someone in the top 10, and ideally someone who's coming in off the back of a win and a decent run of form. Ajit Kabayel, he might have to wait a little while. There you go, the winner of Joyce versus Hrgovic. I wouldn't mind seeing, we could have seen Parker versus Hrgovic a couple of years ago, never happened. He was, I think, in the line of the people in the IBF rankings who could have had a final eliminator against him. We didn't see it then, we might see it now in 2025. So I'd rather see stuff like that personally than Anthony Joshua at this point, quite frankly. But let me know your thoughts in the comments section below. Do you disagree with me? Do you think that actually no, it should be Anthony Joshua? He has earned this world title shot. Let me know in the comments below. Hope you enjoyed it, people. Smash the like button if you could. Hit subscribe, of course, if you haven't already. And until next time, peace.